Welcome everybody to the next episode of the Cannabis Review. I'm delighted to be joined on this episode by Professor Dr Markus Veit, who's the Managing Director at ALPHATOPICS GmbH. How are you keeping today, Professor? How are you keeping today? You well?
Yes, I'm well. Thank you very much. I will be happy to answer your questions.
Well, thank you very much for taking your time to do this. I know you're a very busy man, so I will keep this brief and to the point. Can you maybe give everybody a brief overview on your career to date?
Yes, I did a normal university career, and I left university when I was a young professor. At this time, I took over the general manager position of a small laboratory, which was founded for a research project, and this was the starting of founding of different companies providing services for the pharmaceutical industry in terms of quality control and regulatory affairs. And in the meanwhile, I'm 63, and only one company is left, and this is ALPHATOPICS. And with this company, I do training for the pharmaceutical industry related to any topic which you can think of in the context of quality control, manufacturing, chemistry, of all kind of pharmaceutical products and medical devices. And I do also some consultancy, but only in these topics I'm really interested in and I like, and cannabis is one of them. And this is also related to my professorship because I'm a professor of pharmacognosy. So my university career and education is related to herbal medicinal products.
Okay, incredible. Can you maybe explain to everybody the first topic? What are phytopharmaceuticals?
Yes, this is something very special in Europe and the European Union, because we do have herbal products as medicines. This is part of our regulatory environment in Europe. This is in principle also possible in other regions in the world. However, in Europe, it's distinct because we do have clear guidelines how to deal with these products, considering the very specific aspects related to these products. And any product which is manufactured out of a plant um, or as plant material, and which is not a purified compound, is considered to be a phytopharmaceutical. So degree of purification is sometimes a matter of debate. So I would say the margin could be drawn at a purity of 90 to 95%. If you have natural compounds of that purity, they are no longer considered to be phytopharmaceuticals. So phytopharmaceuticals are mainly mixtures of compounds contained in extracts prepared from herbal starting materials. And these extracts or other preparations are then manufactured in normal dosage forms like capsules, tablets, liquid dosage forms, and form an own category, so-called herbal medicinal product. We do have even a distinct committee at EMA, at our European Medicines Agency. This is the Herbal Medicinal Product Committee responsible for this group of products, and very distinct guidance documents for these products, and also distinct approval procedures in EU member states.
And does the biosynthesis via fermentation, is that covered under phytopharmaceuticals?
No, there is in normal cases there is no fermentation at all. So a normal phytopharmaceutical, you take a plant material from cultivation, or sometimes it's still collected in the wild. Then you dry it, then you mill it, and this milled material is then extracted. The extract might be purified and maybe also standardized to distinct ingredients. and this extract then is manufactured in a dosage form. So fermentation sometimes is also part of the manufacture, but these are very rare products.
And can you explain what are the benefits of phytopharmaceuticals versus, let's say, a synthetic molecule?
I think it's difficult to have it summarized under benefit. It's something different because it's therapy with multi-component mixtures, and of course one can postulate synergistic and maybe also antagonistic effects. In the end, it's not a single pure compound, so it's a complete different concept of medical use of these kinds of products. And in the end, we do have a long tradition of these products in quite a few EU member states. And this tradition builds the basis to have these products as medicines.
Okay. Can you explain on the second topic, what is the European Pharmacopoeia?
So the European Pharmacopoeia is a compendia which is issued by the EDQM. EDQM stands for European Directorate for the Quality of Medicine. This EDQM is located in Strasbourg, and it's part of the Council of Europe. It has nothing to do with the European Union because it was founded after Second World War, and at this time there was no European Union at all. And at this time, a decision must be taken which organization in Europe could be responsible to build up a pharmacopoeia, which is not dedicated to a single EU member state or a single state in Europe, but is valid in any European country. And at this time, the Council of Europe was the only organization in place, and therefore this organization, which is normally in charge for human rights and other topics far away from pharmaceuticals, was assigned to take over this responsibility. And since then, at this time, there were 12 European countries, Switzerland included, for example, which is not an EU member state, and they signed the so-called European Pharmacopoeia Convention, and this convention was the basis for this European Pharmacopoeia. Today, we do have 46 European countries following the European Pharmacopoeia, and the European Pharmacopoeia provides standards for active pharmaceutical ingredients, for packaging material, for excipients, and a lot of issues related to quality control and stability testing of pharmaceutical raw materials and products. There is a clear reference in the European legislative environment, making these definitions and requirements in the European Pharmacopoeia legally binding for any EU country having signed the Pharmacopoeia Convention. And it is, yes, a lot of products which are well known and no longer under patent protection are included into the pharmacopoeia, and quality standards are defined. Of course, there are still national pharmacopoeias, Ireland, UK, Switzerland, Germany, France, Poland, and other EU states do have still national pharmacopoeias, but as with the time, the European pharmacopoeia gets bigger and the national pharmacopoeias get smaller, because at this time when something is included in the European pharmacopoeia, it will be deleted from the national pharmacopoeias.
So when it comes to the role that the EMA plays in drug discovery and development, can you maybe give everybody a brief little overview of, if somebody wants to basically develop their own drug or their own active pharmaceutical ingredient, does it go through the European Medical Agency for approval, and what are the main steps for this to happen?
So first of all, we still in Europe do have not EU approval for any products. So this EU-wide approval in the 27 member states is only open for certain products. So, for example, vaccines, everybody knows that because of the pandemic. They need to be approved by EMA, and also if you have new therapies or you have yes, distinct indications like neuroprotective agents or a neurodegenerative illness, this needs to be approved through this so-called centralized procedure. So the normal approval, and this would also be the case for cannabis, is not achieved by EMA because for herbal medicinal products, they are not considered to be new chemical entities. They are considered known herbal products, and for this, you have to go through national procedures in single EU member states, or you can also decide to have a so-called decentralized procedure, which means that you apply for approval in a group of EU member states you can select, and then you will select one of the member states as being the so-called reference member state responsible for the whole procedure. So if further cannabis herbal medicinal products will be developed, my expectation is that they will not be approved by EMA. This might be the case if this cannabis medicine will be developed for diseases which have to go through the through EMA, for example, cancer. Any cancer product has to go through EMA, but in the moment there is no cancer indication for cannabis. It is more related to yes indications which are not needed to be approved by EMA.
We see a lot of news and reports of some biotechnology companies being able to develop inflammation drugs, whether it's for cardiovascular disease or for bowel disease. Are these products that get approved by EMA?
It depends on the indication. There's a list of indication, but normal vascular diseases are not part of this list. So it must be a severe illness and an illness for which it was decided that it must be available if it's developed for all patients in Europe. Yes, you can download this list from the internet, and it's part of a European regulation. What needs to go through EMA, what could go through EMA, and what could not, and cannabis medicines, phytomedicines, will only be able to be approved by EMA if there is really an indication of a severe illness, or if, for example, if cannabis would be antiviral, then also a centralized procedure could be chosen. But in the moment, I have no indication. Maybe often indications must also go through EMA. Often means this is an indication of a rare disease, and this is also something which is approved by EMA. So this could be possible. And biotech is not phytomedicine. So there is that's very often a misunderstanding. So biotech, they develop very often biological medicines which are not phytopharmaceuticals. So phytopharmaceuticals are characterized by the way of their manufacture I have summarized a couple of minutes ago.
And lastly, before I let you go, when it comes to the ingredient side of these potential new medical products that are going to be created from cannabinoids and molecules within the cannabis plant, is the most advantageous option synthetic, fermented biosynthesis, or a phytopharmaceutical that comes from a plant? Which is the most advantageous route do you see happening in Europe?
Advantageous depends on what is the target of development. So it could be both. If you look for innovation, and being on the edge of the knife regarding innovation, of course, isolated cannabinoids or maybe also synthesized molecules which are similar to cannabinoids or partial modified molecules originating from cannabinoids. This might be they might be considered to be innovative products, and the normal extract from cannabis or other preparation might be more or less more regarded as something which comes out of traditional medicine, but which could be further developed, of course, in a more advanced context.
And lastly, before I let you go, what are the things you look forward to seeing the most over the next, let's say, 5-year period when it comes to cannabis-based medicines?
I'm involved in quite a few projects aiming to develop cannabis medicines in different indications. And from my perspective, this is very important that this is done, because in the moment, in these EU member states in which cannabis medicines are allowed, they are distributed to the patients based on single patient prescription. And in Germany, for example, as magister preparations without any approvals, this is a kind of a so-called no label use, because there is no real approval process and there is only limited evidence. So we need evidence, we need approved medicines, and with availability of these approved medicines, we will then not only have these approved medicines in the approved indications, but we will also have a kind of a no-label use, which is better than off-label use, because if you have a no-label use, safety has been proven and approved, not necessarily efficacy, but this is an important next step to get more. In the moment, we only have Sativex as a phytomedicine, and we do have, of course, Epidiolex and synthesized cannabinoid THC products. But we need further cannabis medicines in order to further establish data on safety and efficacy in different indications. There's a lot of dream and wish in this whole industry, and we need evidence.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Fact-based evidence is paramount now in the European industry. It seems to be a lot of people bigging themselves up without any real evidence to back behind their claims.
Yes, we need evidence. So, and this is very often not given for cannabis medicines. And yeah.
Well, our time is up now, and I know you're a very busy man. So I'd like to thank you very much, Professor, for taking your time to do this today. For anybody who wants to learn more about ALPHATOPICS, you can see the website below. I highly recommend checking out the website. And if you're on LinkedIn, adding Professor Veit as a connection. Professor, thank you very much for your time today.
You're welcome.